So I have a final conversation. This I'm really looking forward to because when I had a little chat with Olivier earlier, there are a couple of things I just didn't know. So we're going to find out some very intriguing and interesting stuff. So Olivier Baldassari from Europcar Mobility Group. So over to you, Olivier.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. So a few words about Europcar Mobility Group, and then Roger and I will put a bit of colors. I guess I have to say first that once upon a time, there was a Parisian entrepreneur of the name of Raoul Louis Mattei, who had this vision that cars after the Second World War were expensive, and that maybe there was a better way to offer mobility solutions to people. So actually, as soon as 1949, he created a company to allow people to subscribe cars. And if you reflect on that, we are in 2023. He wanted to make car affordable and available to people that could not afford to have their own car. And I guess, what did we invent since then? And if I, move forward, as Europcar, what do we stand for? What is our purpose? And at the end of the day, we exactly build on the vision of our founder that was to make essentially cars available, affordable, without having to own them. Nothing new. I would add, though, one word: sustainable. Because the world has changed. It's not anymore having cars being affordable. It's not anymore making mobility easy for people. It is also making it sustainable and to reduce all our carbon emissions. And that's our ambition. That's what we want to be, and that's what we want to stand for as Europcar. We want to be part of the transition. We want to work with individuals, with companies, to make this world more environmental conscious. And that's our purpose. And I guess, how did that start? You can say in 1949, since sustainability was not around, for sure. And progressively, environment and our responsibility towards the world became more and more important for the group and for the leadership. We didn't know how to address that. And I guess one day, we just jumped into the cold water. It was not very smart. It didn't take McKinsey or the BCG or whatever. We just decided. We committed. And we worked with a science-based target to establish some targets for the group. And we said, by 2030, we are going to reduce our carbon emissions, Scope 1 and Scope 2, in a bold way. The question, and we made that publicly available. That's in our financial statements and so on and so forth, in our public reporting. We made that commitment. And, I'm the COO of the group. I'm the garagist. I'm the one eventually that has to make that to happen. And I have to say, and to be honest, I scratched my head. I said, okay, fine. What does that mean in terms of fleet? Because the biggest part of Scope 2 emissions, as you can expect, or Scope 3 and is fleet. Well, the first thing is we had to define some targets, not only for ourselves, but also for the financial community. And we committed to reach 6% electric vehicle in 2022, which we achieved. We committed to achieve a 12% electric vehicle by 2023, which we are in a good way to achieve, and to reach 20% by 2024. Is that reasonable? I don't know. How are we doing that? Well, we are doing that because we committed to do it, and we are working pretty hard to make that happen, because we started to say, okay, let's inflate cars. Well, you know what? You need to inflate, you need to maintain, you need to sell. It's a day-to-day job. But we are there, and we are committed, because we think it is the right thing to do. It didn't start with a very complex market study. It started with a commitment. And I guess this is happening, a very different approach for the B2B customers and for the B2C customers. For B2B, to a certain extent, we work with our customers. They have their own commitments. They also want to reduce their carbon emissions. So I guess it's bringing solutions. You have a fleet today, or you have travel expenses, and here we are there to provide solutions and to show how, by moving forward towards more electric vehicle, you improve your carbon footprint. But for B2C customer, for you, for me, what does that mean? You know, you arrive, you land in Heathrow. Oh my God, I have to rent a car. What about an electric vehicle? Well, here there's a lot of explanation, a lot of pedagogy, and I guess the first thing is to address anxiety. Well, the thing, if we look at our own, I would say, business, about one third of all car rentals which happen in Europcar are less than 300 kilometers. It means, and 300 kilometers is by and large the distance that you can easily, without anxiety, cover with an electric vehicle today. And that's today what we are doing, that every time we have a customer coming to us and renting a car for a day, 2 days, and staying around London, staying around Paris, we are promoting the use of an electric vehicle as much as possible. And you see that today, if you look at the UK, digging into London, you know, charging a vehicle is not the issue. You may have, you know, a challenge in terms of time available, but charging stations in most of Europe is not an issue. This is not a good excuse if you're not renting or you're not taking an electric vehicle. Availability of the infrastructure is not an issue anymore. Okay, you can say if I go to some southern, in the deep south of Italy, maybe you will have some struggle, but not in most of Europe. And now part of the job and part of the work is getting ready, making sure that, you know, there are a lot of details that go along electric vehicles. You know, it's not only getting the right cars in the fleet, it's having the cables, it's having the recharge cards, it's having the infrastructure in our own network, and more importantly, training our own people, training agents to explain how to explain to customers why they can take an electric vehicle. What does it bring to them? What does that mean for the way they drive? What does that mean for their roadmap and their journey? And so on and so forth. And I guess we invested a lot into training our teams at all levels, in the stations, at the leadership, to make people understand what it meant. And I guess the last point of this brief introduction, you know, as a car rental company, we cannot win alone. And it is not a battle for us. It is not a battle to make more money or to a shareholder return or whatsoever. It's a battle to have impact. It's a battle to essentially bear our responsibility towards this world. And I think and I'm convinced that we have a role to play, but we have a role to play not alone. We have to work intimately with the car manufacturers, and we have to work intimately also with the governments. Because at the end of the day, you know, in many countries, deploying at the right pace the infrastructure required is essentially money-consuming and time-consuming. And I take the example, a recent example in Australia. We are actually deploying across our network charging poles, and it's largely subsidized by the Australian government. We are also working in Portugal, and in most countries, deploying an infrastructure, it can be done hand in hand with the local authorities. And I think that's how we can win. We can win if cars' autonomy becomes greater. We can win if a car rental company also plays a role, and if authority plays a role. It's not something that we can achieve alone. And again, I do think that, coming back to the words of our founder, if you can not own a car, let's make sure that you can have access to mobility in an easy way. And in a world, I think, Roger, you mentioned earlier, there is not enough metal in this world to make sure that we will build enough battery. If all cars today were suddenly overnight, by magic, turned into electric vehicle, we would not have enough batteries. That's the point. So, we need to start to share. We need to start to have a different approach. And, we can invent car sharing, we can invent new ways of mobility. Well, I guess, car rental was invented a long time ago, but it is about mutualizing an asset. It is about making this world more efficient. And that's what we need to adjust, transform, make available, make sustainable. And to do that, we need our customers, we need governments, and we need car manufacturers. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivier. Merci bien.
You're welcome.
Français. Voilà. So we've only got 10 minutes,
Yep.
so we're going to quickly go through things. I like the fact that you are focusing on moving us away from being motorists to being mobilists. I heard someone say that, Ross Douglas used that phrase recently, so I've nicked it, if I'm honest. What's the utilization of a car in your fleet typically? So we've mentioned it earlier, owning a car, let's say 5% of the time you're using it, 95% not. What's the asset utilization of your fleets?
Well, today, average utilization across the group is 75%. Okay? 75%. And you're right. I think that's the essence of essentially what car rental is. It's optimizing the use of an asset. At the end of the day, you're right. On average, if you look across cars available in the world, the average utilization is 5%. You are using, most of you.
And paying for it 100% of the time.
And you pay for 100%. Yeah. I have a solution for you.
It's mad, isn't it? Listen, we've only got 10 minutes, so I really want to go through some things. I made a note here. You said you got your target, 6%, 12%, 20% over the next couple of years. That's all well and good for you, but where are you going to get those EVs from? Because at the moment, we seem to have a supply-constrained market, driven mostly by the availability of batteries. So I'm not trying to answer my own question, but are those EVs going to be mostly Chinese and Korean, because they're the ones with all the batteries at the moment?
Well, we will get them from wherever we can. The balance and the world is changing as we speak. Let's say 2022 was very challenging in terms of sourcing cars. You had not only the battery side, but you have also the chip side. So 2022 was challenging to achieve, and we bought, frankly, what we could find on the market. 2023 dynamic is different. Right now, I would say the balance between offer and demand is shifting. So you get more electric vehicles available this year. So I have no concern in terms of sourcing. It will be a mix between European manufacturers and Asian manufacturers. And I would say the mix will vary depending on the conditions, depending on the volumes available.
Yeah.
But you're right. Asia is playing and is going to play an increasing role.
Yeah, but you're a French guy. You mostly want Renault and Citroën.
What does that mean to be French today?
Yeah,
we are citizens of the world.
Hey,
we have a responsibility to the world.
Yeah, but at least you're in Europe. What does it mean to be British? We're on our own now.
Yeah. So, I think it's a game or it's a discussion that takes place in most industries.
Yeah.
As I personally think that as European, we have to be smart. If the transition towards electric vehicle is an amazing opportunity to mobilize an industry and to make sure that we have ourselves the means to the ends that we define. But that implies that we have to define the right pace, that we have to invest the right amount of money, and this won't happen unless government plays a role.
Oh, look, please don't start me off. You're going there. Your president's had Elon Musk over, entertaining him. You're building gigafactory factories. It's please don't. You're teasing me now. You're trying to wind me up. I know what you're doing.
Doing my best.
I know what you're doing. I'm intrigued by something you said earlier, and quite understandably, sweat the asset.
Yeah.
That's been the principle of the business for such a long time.
Yeah.
Got something, make it work, earn the money, etc., etc. Where are you going to go, if anywhere, with vehicle to grid and the battery as a valuable asset, which, when it's not turning the wheels of the EV, could be working with the grid? Are you seeing that as a potential, recurring revenue model?
So I would say, from an asset perspective, you have two avenues. I would say you have the avenue of somehow optimizing the use of the asset, which means that mutualization, such as in the car rental, car sharing, or whatever subscription model you have. So that's the way to optimize your asset and to make sure that you bring from this low utilization rate average to something much more decent. The other way to look at somehow optimization of the asset is to use a car as essentially a source of energy, so to recharge when energy is cheap and to use the energy available when energy is expensive. So I don't think that as a car rental company we will move fiercely or harshly into being, let's say, a storage energy solution provider, because I do think that individuals and people will look at their own car, or whether they own it or whether they rent it, as a source of energy to balance their own energy usage. So I see the two as very complementary.
Okay, got it. Now, again, making note of your figures, 6, 12, 20%, kind of extrapolating that. Would it be fair to say by the end of this decade, your entire fleet will be 100% electric?
I would say I'm not sure we have a choice not to do it.
Ooh.
I think that when we look at the end of the decade, by 2030, I'm not saying maybe 100%, but a very high percentage of our fleet will definitely be electric. I think the market will accelerate in the next couple of years. I'm convinced that the autonomy of cars will increase rapidly, that the infrastructure will be deployed faster and faster. I have little doubt.
Can I just, for the benefit of the audience, because I used to get confused by this, when you hear a French person talk about autonomy, what they mean is the range of the vehicle. It's not driverless. I always get mixed up with that. Okay, just to clarify. So are you thinking of having robot hire cars at some point? I don't even have to come to the office. It just turns up at my house. Are you going to have those as well?
I think this will happen. The timeline, I think, to get to autonomous vehicle is a bit different. I think we are today level 3 in terms of car autonomy. Yeah. We have some inroads into level 4, but it's not yet stable, and there are a lot of legal implications and so on and so forth. But in my lifetime, I have no doubt that also that I will see autonomous vehicle, and that my grandchildren won't need to learn how to drive a car.
I'm completely with you. I was with somebody a few weeks ago looking at Baker Electric and some other vehicles. They didn't have a steering wheel. Yeah. They're like Zooks. So in a way, some of where we're going with all this, it almost feels like wheel turning full circle. You're not going to get away, though, with that, before finishing, with a move pledge, please. Do you have one for
So I have a few. Okay.
Just one.
Just one. So I will take a personal one.
Okay.
And I will take one which is difficult. In my role, I'm traveling a lot, and my pledge is that I will divide by 2 my plane travel and travel by train, which I hate, but I have to do it.
Very good. Well, look, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing with us what
Thank
you're
you,
doing.
Roger.
I think it's refreshing to see, a very well and long-established company changing for the better, and that ambition you say to be as good as 100% electric by the end of this decade is laudable. Merci bien.
Thank you.
C'est formidable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.